without further ado, I would like to welcome our guests. They are called the Travelling Sisters, and I actually met them probably about 4 or 5 years ago at the Adelaide Fringe. They were at the Producers Hotel, and I just loved the stories and characters that came out from them and their bodies. So the Travelling Sisters isn't a stand-up show. It is a trio of actors who transform and create multiple characters during their performance for an hour or so. And recently, usually when people go into lockdown or COVID, we usually kind of sit around and wait for something to happen. But these ladies didn't do that. They applied for a grant and were able to make their web series called Meet the Mullets. It went live, I think, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. It went live and has had a wonderful reception and is a cracker. So please watch it. The link is on the bio. Click and watch the first episode. And let's have a check of their teaser. Okay, so love. Here we go. So this is Meet the Mullets.
Absorbent theatre is just 1 gig, by the way. Ready! Ronnie, come on! Yeah! Let's get this some mix.
And welcome to the show, Lucy, Elle, and Laura.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for joining. You are the Travelling Sisters. Can you tell us who you are individually in 3 sentences?
Ooh.
That was spooky.
Who are you in 3 sentences?
Yes, who are you? Each of you.
Personally,
Yes.
I am Laura Trenerry. I personally, well, I've been in lockdown for 2 months, so I don't know who I am at the moment. I really like cooking. I really love the ocean, and I love performing, and I like making people laugh.
I am Elle. My name is Elle, and I like being in my body the most out of everything. Recently, my housemates and I started doing little sort of dance routines on our front yard to the cars and people that walk by on Nicholson Street, and that has made me very happy. So being back in the body, it's good stuff.
Beautiful.
I'm Lucy Fox. I am one part of the Travelling Sisters, and I love working with these 2 humans so very much. So to be able to do something during lockdown was pretty special. I'm a visual artist as well and sing, and yeah.
Fantastic. And I'm not sure if there's a bit of a lag on my side.
There's a sort of echo chamber happening for me.
Okay.
You feeling that?
So do you feel it now?
Feel it now.
Hopefully it disappears. Laura, could you tell us more about the Travelling Sisters? Because you are a Brisbane trio that's moved to Melbourne.
Yes.
How did it all happen?
So we're all from Brisbane, but we all studied in regional Queensland in Toowoomba, and we studied serious acting. And then we started getting a bit into clown during uni, and then we formed after uni, and it started more as musical storytelling, character comedy, theatre, and then it's just sort of evolved when people started laughing, and we went to clown school in Gaulier, and then we all ended up back in Queensland, and then we moved to London together, and now we live here together. So we've been together for about 7 years.
Wow, I didn't know that you guys all went to Gaulier together. Amazing.
We didn't go together, but we went like the year after each other kind of thing. Yeah. And then we sort of formed around that time.
And then what brought you all to Melbourne?
Just the amazing clown community was the biggest pull. I met Kimberly Twiner over at when I studied at Goliath, and she was down here and doing a lot of character comedy stuff and was like, you have to come over here. You and the Traveling Sisters have to come down here. You have to come down here. And we did. Did we do Comedy Festival first?
Yeah. We did Comedy Festival go on.
Yeah, in 2017. And then we moved down. I moved down in the September, and then, the girls the year after.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Melbourne treated us well.
Well, it's a perfect time. It's a perfect time to be in Melbourne, isn't it?
Oh, just gorgeous.
Best city in the world to live in.
Yeah.
Most livable city.
Thank you, Australia.
Yeah. Yeah, we did come here for live theatre.
I love it. And just to acknowledge the audience that are watching on Facebook and LinkedIn, we have people watching from Melbourne. We've got Philadelphia, India, Pakistan, Albania. Thank you. Seattle, London. Thanks for joining the show. We've also got Brisbane represent. Yeah. Fantastic. Paris, Kenya, Germany, Queensland. If you don't know who these ladies are, please click on their first episode of the show, Meet the Mullets. You can find out more of their work. They are extraordinary live performers, and it's so wonderful to see you reconvert your live to, a web series. But before we talk about the web series, can I ask you, with knowing, your working history and who you are, what would be the title of your memoir if you had to write a book now?
Oh, I think we know the title of it if we were to write it in the future.
Yes.
Laura, what is it?
Oh, Vag and
varicose veins. A tale of memories
and
memories.
But that's for when we're older.
That's what it's going to be.
Yes. But if we were to write it right now, what do you reckon? Not too far from that.
I think the same, yeah.
Maybe just Vino Vag, and then we'll add on the rest for the sequel.
Right. Vino Vag and character comedy. Sums it up.
That's it.
A huge fan of you guys is Steph Tisdale. She's on.
We love you, Steph.
We love you, Steph.
Love you, Steph.
Like, are you all best mates? Is her question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Deeply.
Yeah. I don't think that we could have spent so much time together away from home if it's been like a ride.
It's like best friends, and it's also often like we're in a relationship, and it's also like we're family. So it's kind of, there's a lot of things going on.
And yeah, I actually understand that because, you've made a web series, I've made a web series too, and I've got a co-collaborator. When you, fully push yourself extensively as a creative, there's always going to be limits of a human that you can really tap. So I totally understand that the way we create, you push each other to get the best. So kudos for you guys for being a trio and making it happen for this long. Can I ask you individually, what was your first memory of comedy?
I can answer that one. Year 2, the play. Yeah. I was Little Miss Muffet, and I didn't have a line, but we had a song that we sung together, and it was like what do you call it, like nursery rhymes. And then I came up, so it was like Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey. Along came a spider and sat down beside her and threw her out the window, like this. And so my interpretation of it was like going along with the song and then being really angry and taking like an angry stance. And this is like probably an auditorium of 200 mums and dads and grandparents. And I was so angry in the bit, and then they all pissed themselves laughing. And I was like, ooh, that was fun. And that's my first memory of comedy.
Oh, beautiful. And Karen Lee Morrison has already said, Little Miss Muffet, love it. What about you, Elle? What was your first memory of comedy?
There are two things that kind of sparked then. I'll say the first one. The first one was, I remember in grade 2, I moved schools. My first day at my new school, I peed my pants because I didn't know where the toilet was, and I like held on for way too long. Everyone knows about it. As in, like, I'm sure everyone's done it, not like everyone knows this story, right?
Not this story, I guess.
And anyway, I was like, oh my God, new school, what are we going to do? Have to, like, need new friends so desperately. And so I went back up to the thing, and I was like, don't you hate it when the toilet flushes up on you? And everyone was like, yeah. And it wasn't so much that they were laughing a lot, but that I kind of had this like, hey, or like, totally. And I got away with pissing myself on my first day.
That's how you do it. I actually had a story where I accidentally pooed in kindergarten.
Oh, nice.
What happened?
During book a story time, and I remember like it slipped out of my pants, and then I kind of moved away from it. I don't know why that memory. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Laura, what about you? What was your comedy?
I think the earliest thing that comes to mind is a dance concert. I think I was maybe 6 or 7, and I was like really serious about my dance classes. But I wasn't actually a very good dancer, but I am now. And I don't know, still terrible. And it was like a jazz tap routine, and we were little sailors, and I was like coming in for my bit in the middle, and I fell over. And I just like slipped, and all the girls kept like dancing next to me, and I just saw this row of teenage boys just like absolutely piss themselves laughing. And it was like this mixed feeling of like shame and embarrassment and wanting to do it right, but also felt kind of good to make people laugh, even if it was fully at my expense and fully at me.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, isn't it? It does come. I think our early experience of comedy is the expense of us being clowns.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, that feels good. It's confusing, but I like it.
I'm hurting myself, but they're laughing.
Yeah.
Can I ask, who inspires the Travelling Sisters? Like, who gets you to get on stage and keep making new work?
Do you mean who in our life?
Mm-hmm.
Or, yeah, well, our families are pretty incredibly supportive. For me personally, my mum just like backs me all the way.
Yeah, definitely our families, and Kimberly as well, who's our collaborator and director, Kimberly Twiner. Like, just getting into a room with her is so much fun, and she just like creates a space every time where we're able to just like play and be free and discover whatever's coming, and it's just, yeah, it's such a joy. And so I feel like even when we're making the current show, there's always a little thing of like, oh, can't wait to see what's next as well. Yeah. I love you, Kimberly.
Love you, Kimberly.
Love you, Kimberly. I miss you, Kimberly.
And Laura, I just want to touch on about family because you popped that beautiful video of your parents seeing you in Edinburgh. You know, we forget how, when we're so far away from home, but when we see people who've backed us up and been there for us and then fly across the world to be there, how was that for you? Because you were so devastated, like you were weeping. You were weeping.
Yeah, pure shock. Yeah, so it was 5 years ago. So the memory popped up on Facebook the other day and I shared it. And yeah, we were doing a show at this like terrible, shitty, amazing little venue in Edinburgh. Like it literally poo would come through the roof and rain down. Not rain down, but it had during the show. It was amazing. And yeah, and so we did the show every single day and it was at 1 p.m. And then one day I just came out of the show and it just so happened that somebody had sort of cornered me after the show and was just sort of talking my ear off for quite a while. So everybody else had, you still there, Diane? Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
So all the other girls had like come out and my dad had filmed it. So he filmed everyone's reaction. And then, yeah, I came out and I saw my parents who I thought were in Brisbane. Like they'd been ignoring my calls for a few days while they were traveling, so I was a bit like annoyed at them. It's like, oh, my family really ditched me. And yeah, it was just like pure shock and emotion. I've never experienced that before because like visually what I was seeing just didn't make any sense. Like they just didn't belong there.
Yeah.
But then in my heart it was just like the most joyful feeling. Yeah, and you just feel so loved. And so yeah, and it's yeah, I mean we all miss live performing and traveling and family, so it's just like those memories. It's like, whoa, all of the things. Yeah.
And I want to touch this before we go into your web series, which is that you had a season cancelled for Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
This and we're still in this pandemic. We're all from Melbourne, and we're in lockdown for the next couple of weeks. How have you had to find light in the darkness during this time? Because your families are still all in Brisbane, aren't they?
Yeah. I think so in the house that I live in, there are 5 of us that live here, and we all kind of gathered our brains together and created something kind of at the start of lockdown, like a little crazy kids content thing, and that felt like we could be kind of light in that space because it was just getting outside of yourself, like removing yourself from the individual and connecting in some way to collective, which I feel very lucky to be able to have, like, people around me and stuff. And just recently doing the dancing in the front yard and just waving at people. Like, I don't know, I honestly recommend everyone who is on this thing, just wave at everyone you pass, because like we've all got masks on and stuff when you're walking. Like the old wave, it just brings out clown in people, and I think people are sort of going a bit nutto that people do, like, and like some people like it, I don't know, like we all really want to connect, and I think that just trying to do that in whatever way you can, like even, I don't know, finding out who your neighbors are and sending them a little note under the door or something. I don't know. I think connection when we can't is, however you can, is important. That's been helping me.
Great. And I've seen that video. It's superb. It's beautiful. It's performing. It's like, thank you. I totally saw the joy in that.
It's very fun.
What about you, Lucy and Laura? What's been your light in this kind of world that we're living at the moment?
I think it's such an interesting question, because I think back especially to the last maybe month and a half, 2 months, where it's kind of, starting to drag. I feel like in that time I've laughed more than usual. Like, I find myself laughing a lot about really, like, silly things. And I don't really know, like, I think something's kicked in for me where it's like, you laugh, you cry, let's go down laughing. And I don't know what that is, so I can't really answer the question. But, yeah.
I love it. Well, I was really last night at the Melbourne Web Fest. People started dressing up as nuggets on the online, and that was enough. That was enough laughter for me. Like, it was so ridiculous. It didn't make sense, but it just was enough to get us all laughing.
Yeah.
What about
What about
you,
you? As the costumes. Firstly, what were the nugget costumes made of? Before I answer that question.
Oh, it was an app filter where everyone just dressed as they put on the filter as a chicken nugget. And I didn't have the filter, but I had a really big yellow fluffy jacket, so I dressed up as a nugget.
That's so good. Yeah, I think for me, making the web series and being able to kind of take what I was experiencing in lockdown and what we were all experiencing, and to be able to put it in the lives of these characters, I found a really, really fun thing to do. And it meant that we had to find all the funny things about lockdown. So that brought a lot of light for me. And then apart from that, just the simple things, the going outside for a walk every day and just like soaking up that sunshine or that wind and hail, rain, whatever it is. And just like being with the trees and everything. And yeah, just also trying to take it slow as well as be productive and creative, I found really important.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the web series. This thing that you created during a pandemic. It's called Meet the Mullets. Who wants to talk about this this baby you've created?
What do you want to know?
Our sweet, sweet, weird baby. We do you want like a synopsis? Where shall we begin? So it's about in total 6 mullets. There are 6 mullets. We all play 2 characters each. So we all play the young men, the boys, Daryl, Vinny, and Beric. And they all live like through lockdown. They either have to stay with their mums, or Beric kind of gets kicked out of his mum's house. But it's basically them. They're a theatre troupe. And it's them and their mums just struggling through the pandemic and all the things that they discover about themselves and their kind of deteriorating mental health.
They are a passionate amateur theatre group. Very passionate boys. Well, kind of.
No, 2 of them are. No, they are in their own different ways. And so they're kind of like a lot of it sort of follows, artists trying to do their thing in the pandemic, and also how the parents of those artists deal with them trying to do their art through lockdown.
And what was the inspiration for these 6 characters? Because it's mother and son.
Yeah, the way back when did we start them? In 2015 or something. The inspiration came from the mullets, from the wigs. We just bought them online and let them come to us, and then we started playing around with them then. So they've progressed through these kind of different forms. At one point we were playing them, they were ice skaters in the 1984 Winter Olympics in Sarajevo, Yugoslavia. And so they were them, and then they just kind of morphed. So Yeah, and then our last show, our live show, was the three of those characters, and we were like, how do we mix it up? Because we wanted to make a narrative. We were like, how do we mix it up so we still get to play multiple characters? So we were playing their mums as well, so that we did like a quick change kind of character comedy where we'd flick between I'd flick between Daryl and Roseanne throughout. So we did the same thing for this series.
Great. And let's watch the trailer again, because it's a quick 25 minutes. I was gonna say.
It's a quick 25 minutes.
It's a quick 25 minutes that everyone has. Let's have a quick watch of it. And
rich, absorbent theatre is just 1 gigabyte away. Ready! Right, come on, yeah! Here's some mix.
yeah, it's pretty quick, wasn't it?
That's the quickest 25 minutes.
All right, now this is the first time I've seen us move at the same time, because the last half an hour my screen's been frozen, so I'm glad we're back to normal now.
Wow. You weren't freaking out at all. You're cool as a cucumber.
Thank you. We've been doing this 17 times. Sorry. And Elle, I have to say, every time your character, the mum, like either laughed or cried, got me. Like, I was just carking myself, because I think I cry like that too. So it was like really great to see that. How was it?
So glad.
How was it to make the show? How was it? Like, how did you guys maneuver that? And you did get funding for it, didn't you?
Yeah, so we got some of the City of Melbourne COVID-19 arts grants funding. So yeah, we basically came up with the idea once Comedy Festival was cancelled, and we were like, well, what if we made a web series where we followed the boys and the mums in lockdown? And so it was a really fun process, because we had to make all the characters' worlds exist in our houses, because we knew that we weren't sure what level of lockdown we would be in, but that was right at the beginning of one. So it was that fun thing of like, okay, well, neither Mel or Vinny would really live in my house, so let's make it an Airbnb. And like Trish, Beric's mum wouldn't live in Elle's house, so Elle's gonna have to go to Beric's gonna have to go to his dad Tony's house, and he's gonna have to sleep in his car. Like, it was just so fun, you know, when you have all these restrictions, and it actually just allows so much to flow. So yeah, so we kind of like started writing it in lockdown, and then there was the in-between bit. So we got to actually write most of it together and then film it, even though we never play with each other. So because we had to write it so that we'd play against ourselves, but then we got to be each other's crew and stuff. But yeah, it was really fun to take the characters from our live show and put them on camera. And because we all know each other's characters so well, so we could all really kind of write for each other. And that was a really fun process that we'd never done before.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what was the process? Because that's one thing that people really don't talk about, is the process of writing a show. How do you three write together usually when you do shows?
That was something we really needed to discover a new process, because when we write together, it's all on our feet. Everything is improvised. We record it. We've learnt now to record it. We didn't used to. We used to remember everything, try and remember everything. We record it now and watch it back and get the gold, and then carry on and sort of redo that process. So this was kind of, and with Kimberly Twiner in the room, who is just so amazing. And she was really integral to finding a process through this kind of creation. And yeah, I think we owe a lot to Kimberly actually for discovering that. We did not so much on our feet, but we used these little cards where we do drawings. So we'd like sort of imagine these scenarios, and whatever it was like, draw it. So even if it was just like a picture of a car, and then, so it started mapping out in front of us visually. And then we kind of would get rid of stuff, add stuff, get rid of stuff. And then it formed into these episodes, I guess. And that's, yeah. And then when we were filming, we filmed in 7 days or something? We filmed in a week. It was tight, but we had a little bit of wiggle room for improvisation. So there's still a bit of improv in there, which for me are the funnest bits to watch back, because, you don't know what one of the others is going to say. And it's just like when the gold happens on the spot, it's just so fun.
Yeah. And have you, well, this is like a nadir question, but have you missed the stage?
Yes. Yeah. Deeply.
Oh, I thought you said, have you missed a stage? I was like, did we miss a stage?
Probably.
Okay, Diana knows. Okay, have we missed?
I'm going to say
much.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to say
The
definitely.
stage.
Yes. I guess I was trying to lead into my next question. Because the characters you perform are diverse, you are 3 women performing these 6 characters. How have you found diversity in Australia in the last couple of years since you've been on the circuit? You've been performing all around Australia. Has it changed from the time you first started comedy to where you are now? And what can we do to keep, getting more women to do comedy?
Massively changed. Especially Edinburgh, we've noticed a difference in Edinburgh, but definitely in Australia as well. Does someone want to take that, Elle?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I feel like you still notice a lot of bros on the scene. I feel like there's like still a good way to go, but I think that it's definitely growing in terms of like the binary gender diversity, but I think that there's definitely still a way to go in kind of fluid gender diversity, especially when you think about kind of what's on TV. Because I kind of think about what's on TV and like what mainstream Australia is kind of consuming. And I think that has a long way to go. But I think in the circuits that we run in like the fringes and stuff like that, you definitely see a lot more diversity in that space, which is great. Yes, Edinburgh, I feel like I can clock the difference more so than here, but maybe that's because there was more space in between, like visiting Edinburgh. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you look at your face and you don't realize you're changing.
Like when we were flyering in Edinburgh in 2016, the difference between that and 2018, and how many people said to us when we went to give them a flyer, how many people said to us, oh, no, thanks. Like, nah, women aren't funny. And we would get that every single day in 2016, every single day in some form. Sometimes it was really awful and sometimes it was like, yeah, all right. But in 2018, I feel like I got it once, all of Edinburgh.
Wow.
Yeah, like a couple of times, handful of times, but not every day. And sometimes you get it from women. That was the most painful, when you're like, oof.
That stings hard.
Whoa. So there has been a shift and it's pretty heartening. But yeah, we do have a way to go.
We do have a way to go. We're just going to go to questions from our audience. If you have a question for the Travelling Sisters about their work, about how they made a web series or how they've performed on stage, please ask a question. And before we do go to the questions, I do want to ask because our audience is predominantly from LinkedIn, and I find a lot of people on LinkedIn want to use comedy in their storytelling. What would be your one tip for someone who wants to use comedy in their storytelling?
I would say find what makes you laugh, and that will lead you to like having more fun with the way that you tell your stories. Like find what you love to do, find what brings you pleasure. And then if you're filled with kind of this like electricity and buzz from what you love to do or what you find funny or what you find joy in, then I think that usually translates through your storytelling. Like I think that that's a really key thing. If you're trying to do someone else's funny, it might not necessarily come off. But if you try and parody someone else as a character, I mean, that's fun sometimes.
Totally. Yeah, I agree with that. I would say the same thing in terms of finding what you find funny. And it's the honesty in that, whether you're being yourself, whether you're playing a character. And then once you've got that thing and you've got that idea, you just have to kind of back yourself and do it. And it might not work. And that is okay, because that's another thing as well, it's like it's not always going to land, and that's okay. Just like try again.
Yeah. Try again.
And if it does work, do it again.
If they like it, do it again.
Just say the same joke straight after.
1 hour, same joke.
We'll go to the questions from our audience. So what do we have here? We've got Steph. Steph's spamming us right now. She's saying, who's the crazy one? And do you have a particular characteristic that makes you click? The quiet, the serious, the dumb?
Interesting.
Characteristic that makes you click. Oh, I don't even know where to begin.
Piss yourself again, Elle. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments. Steph just said, piss yourself again, Elle. She's spamming us. I'm the one that pisses themselves.
Yeah, also on that pisses themselves. I think there's definitely aspects of our personalities that we find funny or whatever about each other, so we can kind of bring those out more, or kind of jab them a little bit. Like we really like to make fun of Lucy being a prude. Like she's not really a prude, but there's just, there's been enough instances where like sometimes she might be in that light. Or what are the others?
Well, for example, Laura and I will hump Laura from the back, fully clothed. And Lucy will be like, oh my God. It's just like we're just playing into the roles. But I would say that it's fairly fluid. I don't feel like we'd be able to pin it down to each person being one specific thing. I don't know, maybe the others think something different.
But we have figured out that I am a prude. So
I feel like
that's the takeaway.
I feel like we can just choose an example of all of them. Like, I don't know, what's mine?
Elle, what's Laura's? I'm a prude.
Laura's like Laura get.
Laura stacks it.
Yeah, Laura stacks it. Laura
stacks it in the funniest way. Actually, there's this video that I put up a few months ago, because she had this stupid hat thing, not a hat, like a mask, which she made a few years ago, which is so ridiculous, this kind of pig mask. She comes in doing a dance with all intention to do the dance, and stubs her toe on like an iron, like this iron thing, and it is a doorstop, and like it is so funny. A few people were like, oh, was that slapstick or whatever, and we're just like, no,
I can't do slapstick. And I feel like Elle's is like a kind of little gremlin in a cave.
Yeah. Definitely that's my spirit animal.
Steph's asked another question. When you write, are you the characters or do you play to write?
Bit of both,
Wait. Yeah, a bit of both. We usually write from within improvisation, so I guess we're playing as the character and like being in that form, we call it, like you kind of take it, whatever your character's kind of form is.
Like Elle's gone for Gremlin here.
I've gone for classic Gremlin, you can see.
Classic Elle.
Classic me. And that will, like, if you breathe into that form, that will kind of inform your improvisation. And like, you know, so you change your form and it changes what kind of stuff you come out with. It's just what we found. So yeah, I would say that we write just straight from the body, except for this. But with Meet the Mullets, I mean by this, but we had written all of the like backstory of those characters totally from the body. And we had the whole live stage show, Thy Thus Twas, which was their whole kind of story in that 1 hour that we were kind of like playing off when we wrote Meet the Mullets. So I feel like we did write without bodies, like we wrote kind of visually, but we were also calling on all this sort of like lineage, this body lineage that we had from making the live show.
Fantastic. And Karen's just done a review for your trailer. Oh my God, it looks hilarious.
Thank you, Karen.
Karen.
Really good. And I think you might know this person, Kelly Pascoe.
Oh, yes. Hi, Cal.
Angel L. There you go. So you popped out like an angel.
Oh, beautiful.
Cute.
And I do have another question, but I can't find it. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Karen's asked the question. This is our last question. Have you found you are funny? Have you found you have funny stuff now that you've been in lockdown for so long?
I hope so. I'm kind of worried that my personality is leaving. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think it's hard to say yet, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of things we feel like creating with our bodies when we do get in a room to make our next show.
Yeah, and you know, it's an interesting question too, because I almost feel like the funny that's created between the traveling sisters, so the three of us, is only created in the play between us. So it's almost like it's been put on ice, and it'll be interesting to go back to the play. So who knows? We'll see.
Great. And we've got a review of your performance, Elle. Gremlin in the Cave. Love it.
Oh, thank you.
Gremlins have come out of the closet.
I was already out, baby.
I so totally hear what you're saying, Laura, before you're saying about, like, wonder if our personalities have shifted because of COVID. I'm also curious because I was really drunk last night because I hadn't been drunk online before, and there was like 60 people in the room, and I just felt like that was the audience, but they weren't. So yeah, I'm curious what will happen in the performance.
Yeah, it's quite. We all drank a bit too much at our web series launch party the other night. It's such a different experience because you're alone, and then you close the computer, and then you're drunk at home. Like
I think it's because you're like disconnected from your body kind of thing, because you're like engaged in this virtual world, right? So you're like glug 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 glug. That's what happened to me anyway.
Yeah, that's definitely what happened.
You're not really going to the bar and getting a drink. The bar's just right in front of you now.
Yeah,
exactly.
You are
dangerous.
And Karen's named it. It's a piss pot. There you go. Ladies, thank you so much for joining the show. If you have just watched the interview, please check out their web series. Go to The Traveling Sisters on YouTube. Just type that in. It comes up first. And check out all their episodes. It's called Meet the Mullets. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you for having us. It was lovely.
Thanks for
And
tuning in.
if you are a fan of the show, please follow us on all these social medias. And I would like to thank my Patreon family for supporting the Snort Cast. I wouldn't be doing this without you. And before we leave, we're just going to show a quick video of Snort Cast. Hello.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.